Hi, welcome back to Star Media. I'm Heather Johnson, and this is part of our September Suicide Prevention Awareness Month series. And today I am joined remotely by Scott Roeder. He is up in the St. Cloud area. Is that correct, Scott?
That is.
Okay, and Scott is an advocate for mental health and suicide awareness. He lost his son about 8.5 years ago. And Scott, I'll just throw it over to you to introduce a little bit more about yourself and your background and more about Jackson.
Thanks, Heather. Yeah, I'm up in the St. Cloud area. I've been retired for 4.5 years. I was in business. And as Heather mentioned, 8.5 years ago, I lost my son to suicide. A little bit about Jackson. He was just a wonderful young man. Grew up doing the normal things with Connects and Legos and things, kind of started on some home builder software and very adventurous young man. As he got older, he ran marathons, was a musician, and actually was a gifted artist. And Jackson also had mental health challenges. He got being diagnosed with ADHD. We wish they would have rechecked him a year later in first grade. And then sixth grade, he started writing dark thoughts and got the treatment he needed and started medication and counseling. But he also experienced bullying at that time. And then in high school, he actually had some cutting and had a suicide attempt. And then once he got into college, he got diagnosed with bipolar. Um, he had an incident where he had to come home from college for a year, but started new meds, new treatments. And when he went back to college, he was just really, really doing well. And then in February of 2017, we were shocked by his passing. And my wife and I define our life as before Jackson died and after Jackson died. And after Jackson died, our life changed. And at the wake, there were a lot of paintings of Jackson's that we brought. And people were surprised that he was such a gifted artist. They also were surprised that he struggled with mental health. If you met Jackson, you wouldn't know. He was just very outgoing and just wonderful young person. So it kind of sparked an idea of me starting to sell his paintings and do something with that money to make a difference. And we'd gotten quite a bit of money from the funeral, and I didn't need it for funeral expenses, so I took that and started selling paintings and started a legacy fund, the Jackson Roeder Legacy Fund, and worked with finding what we could make a difference. And we wanted to make a difference for young people and try to close the gaps that were missed for Jackson and his care. Since in these last 8.5 years, one of the things that I think was really instrumental is when 988 came out. I believe we're coming up on the 3-year anniversary of 988, or just eclipsed it. And if you're not familiar, 988 is the national line similar to 911, but you call for suicide ideation, mental health challenges, substance use, and it's 7 by 24, 365 days a year, trained professionals to help you through the crisis or get the resources that you need. You can call, text, chat any time of the day, and it's very important. And so that meant a lot. I wish 988 was around when we lost Jackson, and he would have had that resource. But I found that here in our local schools, they had banners up, and it was the 1-800, I can't remember the number, but with 988 out, I decided let's go with promoting 988. I changed all those banners locally. And then after that, other schools wanted it. So I started hitting the suburbs of the St. Cloud area. And then I ended up researching all the districts in the 4 counties. That's where we're trying to make a difference with Jackson's Fund. And I was able to get banners out to all 25 school districts. They're a 4x8 banner, and they go into cafeterias or gymnasiums. And the schools have been very supportive of those banners. And now we've actually, I made an offer to any school in the state. If they are working on mental health and suicide prevention training in the schools with staff and students, let's get them a 988 banner. So I've been sending them out to schools throughout the state. For Minnesota and for our local area, We currently have about 130 that have been put out. So not just the schools, we got the colleges, we've got the YMCA, we got senior centers. So it hits all the places, but that's something we've progressed on.
I just wanted to touch a minute on Jackson's art. I had a chance to look at the website, and you are right. He was a gifted artist, and his paintings and drawings and all of the stuff that you have on there is truly beautiful and amazing. So we'll definitely be sharing a link to that and want to share that with the world as well. But as far as your 988 work, I think that's super important and relevant in today's day and age, making uh, resources out there as easy as 3 digits is very important. Like you said, that might have helped Jackson and certainly can help many other people now. So we want to definitely get the message out there. So I applaud your efforts and the banners and the things that you're doing with that because that's an amazing thing to offer to schools and communities. You have set up this legacy fund, and is it just the 988 banners? Like, what other kinds of things are you doing with Jackson's fund?
Yeah, in our journey, these last 8.5 years, um, you go through the experience of loss, and I would say that first year was acute grief, and you're trying to survive. You're trying to get up, take a shower. I continued with work. My wife was retired. It was very difficult for her. You just try to go moving forward, and everybody grieves at a different pace. How long will I grieve Jackson? I'll grieve Jackson till I die. But you do get a little bit stronger to carry that pain as time goes on. And I would say at the 5 year mark, that's when it kind of dawned on me that the work we're doing, I wanted to help other loss survivors. I want to prevent suicide. That's why we really push for the 988. Want to have suicide intervention. We've done a lot of promotion on safety plans. That's for um, counselors and psychiatrists and psychologists to use to help people who are at high risk. They have a nice plan that if someone gets in a dark spot, that can help them out, and that would be suicide intervention. But then postvention, loss and healing, is if the unfortunate does happen and someone joins this club that I don't want anyone to join, Suicide Loss Survivor Club. I want to make sure they had resources to help them during this very painful time. So worked with the state suicide prevention task force and the postvention committee we're on, and we built some folders that contain resources for loss survivors. These are resources we didn't have when we lost Jackson, and they would have been really, really helpful. So we have a folder made up of the best of American Foundation for Suicide Prevention resources, the best of NAMI, National Alliance on Mental Illness resources, and then we have actually local resources. Again, I'm trying to help the 4 counties here, but we have a local support group that people can reach out to, a suicide loss support group. And the resources try to make sure that um, people don't feel alone, that they can be accompanied. We have a resource in the folder called Healing Conversations from AFSP. I'm a trained Healing Conversations representative. Um, a lost survivor of a child will go through AFSP, and if they're in Minnesota, they will hook up with me or another one of my teammates who've lost a child. We match up by the type of loss. We have a person on our team who lost a spouse, another person who lost a sibling, and another who've lost a parent. So based on your loss, you'll get a call, or you'll match up for a call for about 2 hours with one of us who are trained. We're not counselors, but we will accompany you, during those early periods of grief, just to make sure you don't feel alone. And we get it, we really get it because we've been there.
Yeah, I
So
think that's so important because, you think about, I mean, so many people are affected, unfortunately, by suicide. And I think that's probably an area that might be kind of overlooked, how are the people that are left behind coping? That's you put a lot of focus on suicide prevention and, those kinds of things, but then, helping those that are left behind is an important thing to do. So I think that's a great thing that you're doing.
Yeah, I had a family member reach out to me, and unfortunately, in their neighborhood, they had a loss. There was a parent who lost a child, and she goes, "Well, what do I do?" I said, well, I'd make a pan of lasagna and go over there and just be with them. You don't have to say anything, just accompany them. Losing someone to suicide doesn't mean, you can't get a hot dish or a lasagna. I think people are afraid, and, they're afraid to see you in the grocery store. They're afraid if they come up to you and they say Jackson's name that I'm going to crumble. Well, I'm thinking about him all the time anyways. It actually,
Right.
would love for you to talk about Jackson. So
Right. And I think that's important too, this is a death. You treat it just like any other death. It's whether or not it was, a car accident or somebody was ill for a long time. It's something that you need to be there for those that have lost somebody. So that's a great point.
I think on this journey that we're on, um, as we try to get the word out on 988, we try to get the resources for those who've lost a loved one to suicide. Um, it's just really trying to break down some of the stigmas of mental health and suicide. I think, safe messaging is always important with suicide in this area. Um, you'll hear people use the word commit suicide. And, Jackson didn't sign up for his mental health condition, and no one would want that. And he got in a dark spot one night, and he just got in this almost heart attack of the brain and couldn't get out. And that was his only way out. He lost his life to a disease. And commit is more like commit a crime or commit a sin. It's died by suicide. My son died by suicide, and it's hurtful when I hear people say commit. It's like he's done
Right.
something wrong. So
Yeah.
that's important. That's really important.
Yeah. That's a great point also. Um, Well, I want to thank you so much for joining us. I think the work you're doing is great, and I'm sad that you have to do that. It would be nice if we lived in a happy world where bad things like this didn't happen, but it's people like you that step up after an incredible tragedy like this and try to make the world a better place. So we appreciate you for doing that and for visiting with us today and telling us a little bit about Jackson. And he sounds like he was an amazing young man. And we'll be sure to share some of the resources that you've talked about today as well. So, yeah, thank you so
Yeah.
much, Scott.
Thank you, Heather. Appreciate the time. Behind me is one of Jackson's paintings, and I always like to have one of his paintings around me when I speak, so I feel his presence. So I really appreciate the time, Heather, to share.
Yes, thank you so much. And we will definitely be sharing the links to Jackson's artwork as well. So stay tuned for more in this series for suicide prevention awareness throughout the month of September. Thanks for joining us.